Hello, TCG and Lorcana enthusiasts, and welcome to part 2 of our mini-series where we are reviewing every color from Rise of the Floodborn. Last time we were here, we reviewed all of Amber, which is kind of more or less just heal turbo in some aspects, but very good cards nonetheless for a lot of decks, from Princess to heal turbo to a few other really decks, the Seven Dwarves deck, of course. But today we are looking at Amethyst, and let me tell you, Amethyst has a very interesting deck that comes out of its color. And that was Bounce using Merlin, and I forget the other lady, but we'll check them both out, and I can 100% say that's probably going to be a good day one deck. Of course, we will check out that deck profile later down the line. So let's look at each card, and I'll give you my thoughts on it. First up, we have Arthur. When this character quests, you may return another chosen character of yours to your hand to gain 2 lore. Very, very strong. I believe this has to go in the bounce deck. So what the whole bounce deck concept I've seen and heard is that you're just bouncing your guys back to constantly gain a whole lot of lore very, very fast. So that's the whole concept of bounce. So this is a very good card. But anyways, we have the Blue Flare. Whenever you play a Floodborn character, draw a card. Again, a Floodborn characters, if they have in here the Storyborn Hero Queen, they'll have to have Floodborn. If they have Floodborn in there, you'll get to draw a card. So that's not too bad of a thing. It does have evasive, so even if it quests, not a lot of things can go at it. So in essence, you can always constantly draw. Again, another very good card for Amethyst and its draw power. Again, only if you're playing a lot of Floodborn characters. Anyways, we have Chip. Just a vanilla here. A good target also for being a 2-2, which means you can bring him out like in a Stitch Rockstar of Amethyst Amber. Dr. Facilier, just another one. This one happens to be evasive, so he's just a little better at surviving. But he is also 4-2, so it's not bad. So he's actually can attack stuff at evasive. Being at 4-2 is really, really good. We have Elsa. She's just a Challenger 3. We had the Fairy Godmother, just a vanilla Fairy Godmother at 5-drop, quest for 2, 3/7 is really, really good. She can survive quite a lot. We have a Shift 2 Fairy Godmother. When this character quests, your characters gain Challenger 3, and when this character is banished in challenge, return this card to your hand this turn. So very, very nice. She just bounces stuff back to your hand. But she also gives you everything Challenger 3. So basically, if you need to knock out something big that's like a 6 cost and you can survive it, heck, even if you don't survive, you just bounce yourself back to your hand, which is very, very good. Very strong indeed. Just giving yourself Challenger 3 for the turn, and you're able to bounce yourself back to your hand. So very good if you know for a fact the person you're going to send at something is just going to die immediately and you can spin it back to your hand. Very, very good. I can actually see this being played in the Ruby Amethyst deck as just a couple of, maybe like a 2 of, if nothing else, just because then you can have all of your Reckless guys swing in for even more damage. If they die, they just bounce back to your hand. You get back this Reckless guy, then it always means you're always threatening that Reckless person, which means if your opponent at any point quests and you have enough lore, you just bring down the Reckless. And if they have Rush Reckless, like Maui from Ruby, he can immediately then come in and then swing. And if he happens to die with this Fairy Godmother on it, again, the Fairy Godmother has to quest. She's only at 3-4, so she's not very strong at surviving, but still, that means you could bounce the Maui back and always threaten to have the Maui. Anyways, we have Fairy Godmother. When you play a character named Cinderella, you may exert chosen character. So anyways, it's going down the essence of what Amethyst also likes to do, is it likes to kind of exert stuff as well. There's a few cards that exert characters. In essence, just kind of wanting to be challenging. So it's kind of nice, especially if you're going to play like a very aggressive Ruby deck. This isn't too bad of a choice if you just want to play. Again, you have to play a Cinderella to do it. So you'd have to kind of hope that there's a Cinderella and Amethyst. But again, not too bad. Hey. This character is kind of interesting. When this character is banished in a challenge, you may return this character to your hand. So he's always going to be able to go in, challenge, return himself to this hand. But this is actually really nice for Stitch Rockstar Aggro, Amethyst Ruby, or Amethyst Amber, apologies. Because what you can do is you can swing him in take something for 2 damage, get him back, play him again with Stitch Rockstar, and then exert him with Stitch Rockstar. So you get, in essence, take 2 damage, bring a card back, guy back to your hand, play him for 2, and then draw a card, which is very nice. Again, he only gets to come back to your hand through banishing, so he's not perfect, because if he gets destroyed by steal control cards, then he's not going to come back to your hand. But still, neat concept there. We got Jiminy Cricket. When you play this character, if you have a character named Pinocchio in play, you may draw a card. So in essence, he just comes out. If you have Pinocchio, you get to draw a card. Now, there is a Pinocchio in Amethyst that is very, very strong. Very, very good. And I will 100% say all Stitch aggro decks are going to play it. Next up, we have Kuzco. When this character is banished, you may draw a card. So in essence, where the green Kuzco is about if he gets banished. If he gets banished, he banished what banished him. And in essence, this Kuzco is about if he gets banished, you get to draw a card. Pretty neat. But now we're getting into the cards that facilitate the entire bounce deck. Madam Him and Merlin. This is the entirety of the bounce deck. The bounce deck revolves around these 2 characters. So in ways, Madam Him, Chasing the Rabbit. When you play this character, banish her or return another chosen character to your hand. She gains Rush. So in essence, you can either banish her, or you can grab another chosen character from your drop, which is very nice because we're going to be probably losing a lot of characters or banishing them. In essence, we can always return them and cycling them back to our hand. Now we have, of course, Madam Hin, the dragon version. I win. You play this character, banish her, or return 2 chosen characters to your hand. Again, another aspect. You can either banish her, and she does quest for 4, by the way, or you can take 2 chosen characters from your drop and put them in your hand. So really nice there to put more guys into your hand. We have Madam Him, Shift 3. Gruesome and Grim. Play a character with a cost 4 or less for free. They gain Rush at the end, and at the end of the turn, banish them. So in essence, what you're doing here with her is you're just bringing in a lot of your guys for free. You're giving them Rush, and then you're basically just going to go in, smack a bunch of stuff down with their Rush ability, just basically controlling the board presence from there, and then you're going to win, because then they'll banish themselves, which then makes Madam Him, the Fox, Madam Him, the Dragon, just so much better, because then you'll be able to always constantly cycle those characters back to your hand. Now we have Madam Him, the Snake. When you play this character, banish her or return chosen character of yours to your hand. Okay, so in essence, apologies, I thought these came from the grave, but no. These come from the field. So in essence, what the bounce deck is doing is you're bouncing guys back, which gets you lore. We've already seen that with, for instance, Arthur. In essence, Arthur is not a once per turn effect. Whenever this character quests, you may return chosen character of yours to your hand to gain 2 lore. Now again, that only works once, but we'll see other cards down the line that are all about, like, when you bounce stuff, gain lore. So that's what this whole deck is about. It's just bouncing stuff. So that's what's really nice about Madam Him, is because you're going to get Rush for the turn. You can just basically rush someone in, do a bunch of damage on them. It's a 4 cost or less, so you could bring in the Fox, or you could bring in or the Snake, and you just bring them in, and then you rush them in, and then you'll bounce them back with one of the others. In essence, you're constantly always making sure you don't have them banished. Now let's talk about the Merlin cards that go with it. When you play this character, and when this character leaves play, the chosen character gets challenged 3. Not really great. The other ones are where it's really good. So you got Merlin the Goat. We had Merlin the Crab, Merlin the Goat. When you play this character, when this character leaves play, gain 1 lore. Now, mind you, that doesn't say exactly how it leaves play. So it doesn't say it has to be banished. It just says when it comes in and when it leaves play, gain 1 lore. Combo that with Madam Him up here. What you're doing is you're going to bring Madam Him, play Merlin the Goat. Merlin the Goat gives you 1 lore. Then you just play any of your other Madam Hims to bounce something. You bounce the Merlin back to your hand, he has left play. If this is how I'm reading this, it says leave play, so it doesn't matter how it leaves play, you gain another lore. Just do that combo over and over again, And not mentioning that you can use Arthur. Arthur, bounce the Merlin back to your hand and gain a lore and then gain 2 lore off the Arthur. If you're seeing how this deck kind of conceptualizes here, all you're doing is you're just looping your characters around and around and around to constantly just gain lore. Anyways, we have Merlin the Rabbit. When you play this character and when you least play, just draw a card. So again, that's really nice because we want to have that draw advantage in our hand. And now we have Merlin the Shapeshifter. Whenever one of your other characters returns your hand from play, this character gets +1 lore. So if you can do a multiple loop combo, in essence, you can get him up to a high lore count and then swing in for the game. Swing in, gain a whole bunch of lore, and win the game. Again, we don't have any way to like stop lore hunting. I could see the game going into enough power where we could see cards that could block lore, but I don't see that coming in like the 3rd set. I could see that like maybe like a 5th or 6th set, or heck, even maybe a 10th set down the line, to really start getting even more interaction within the game of the fact that now we can stop lore questing. But yeah, just spin back a whole bunch of things, gain this guy a whole bunch of lore, and then swing in, then quest for all that lore. And then we have Merlin the Squirrel. When you play this character, and when this character leaves play, you look at top card of your deck, put it either in the top or bottom of the deck. So you scry your deck. He's not as great. So in essence, the really good cards are the Madam Hymns, the Merlin the Goat, Merlin the Rabbit to draw somewhat, and then Merlin himself. I would say the Crab and the Squirrel probably aren't going to be played as much. It's really going to be Merlin the Shapeshifter, Merlin the Goat, Madam Hymn, and then King Arthur. I think it's King Arthur? No, it's just Arthur. Okay, so he hasn't become king yet. But yeah, very, very neat, interesting deck that we have here. We'll have to see if the bounce loop is just too slow against certain decks. If certain decks that can aggro immediately into high lore guys up on the board, where this deck is just slowly trying to get up to its bounce loop. We'll have to kind of see how it pans out. Anyways, we have Peter Pan, Shadow. He has Elusive, he has Rush, and the other characters gain Rush. Your other characters gain... with Rush, gain Elusive. So this is really nice. So in essence, all your Rush guys gain Elusive at all times, which is very cool. Which means that you're always threatening decks that like to use a lot of Elusive guys. This just, in essence, gives you all your Rushers Elusive, which is pretty nice. But anyways, we have Pinocchio here. Have you ever decided that a 2-cost should have the ability to quest for 3? I sure didn't. So in essence, this is a very, very good card for any aggro deck that's going to play the Amethyst engine. Like I said, Stitch, Rockstar, playing this Pinocchio is very strong because what you can do now is you can play Lilo turn 1, Simba turn 2. Then turn 3, you can play another 1-cost like a Stitch, so that that next turn you can go into, of course, the Rockstar and Pinocchio. Then you can, of course, as you're questing with your blocker and Lilo, now your opponent's gonna have to determine whether to attack the 2 luring Lilo if the blocker has to be gone, or the 3 questing Pinocchio. So very, very, very power creep there. Very interesting card. Anyways, we have a shift 3 Pinocchio. Listen to your conscience. When you play this character, you may return chosen character or item with 3 costs or less to their player's hand. So anyways, just bounce stuff. Again, another card that just bounces things. Now, it can't bounce any of the stuff. It can bounce like this character, like the squirrel, but that's not really all that well. Again, if you're going to play the deck, you want stuff that bounces 4 costs, guys. So anyways, we have another Pinocchio here. When you play this character, you may exert chosen opposing character. Again, it just comes in and exerts stuff. Anyways, we have a generic Winnie the Pooh, 5 cost, 5 will, 5 power, just quest for 2. Not bad. Then we have a new couple new Yzmas here. We got Yzma Shift 4. When you play this character, shuffle another chosen character into their player's deck. That player draws 2 cards. So if you know for a fact your opponent has something very annoying, you could shuffle it back. Now, it's whenever you play this character, it shuffles, but still, you could shuffle even your own things back. So if you have a guy that's got big damage on it, you can just shuffle it back into your deck and then draw 2 cards. For instance, if you're playing like a steel control with the Amethyst engine, you can go Yzma over one, Yzma or Yzma down, and then just cycle back both your little Tinkerbell and your big Tinkerbell that may have a lot of damage on it. Like they swung that turn, a lot of damage. You don't want your opponent to kill it off next turn, so you just go put them back in your deck, draw 2. Very, very nice. We got a generic Yzma here, 3-4 for quest 1. Now we get into a lot of the actions and songs. So now we have Gruesome and Grim. you can sing this for 3. When you play a character at 4 cost or less for 3, they gain rush and then banish a turn. Again, the exact same thing this Madam Him does, except it's now on an action. So you can start activating this a little earlier. Now we have Stuck. It just exerts a character that can't ready to start your turn. So if you know, this is not too bad of a card. If there were side decks in Lorcana, I'd say this is a very good side deck card, because then you could bring it in to play it for 1 to exert something so your opponent can win that turn. I'm not 100% sure of playing it in the main deck, but if there was side deck, this would be a really good side deck card. We have the Legend of the Sword and the Stone. You can sing it. It just gives one of your characters Challenger 3. Pretty nice. I'm not sure how strong it is, but it is nice. Anyways, then we have Binding Contract for Alternity. You could tap it. Tap one of your characters, exert chosen character. So in essence, if you just need to deal a whole bunch of damage, or you just need to knock out opponent's characters, this is not too bad. Especially with a lot of stuff gaining rush. Anyways, we got Croquette Mallet. Banishes item, chosen character gains rush for the turn. Not bad. Perplexing Signposts. Banish this item, return chosen character to your hand. This is actually not a bad one. Again, this is another good one to start the whole combo of bouncing Merlin, bouncing stuff back to your hand so you can get the whole bounce combo started. So this is a very much nice card. And then we have a card that makes absolutely no sense. And why is it even in here? Or why was it even printed? I don't know how many decks are going to play it, but this is very, very good. Sorcerer's Book, 3 cost. Tap it and pay 1. You just gain a lore. So in essence, if you're playing an opponent that's playing a much slower deck and they have to set up, and you have this out, multiples of these outs, and you say your opponent doesn't have a way to remove items, in essence, your opponent's playing slow and you're sitting here and not having many cards to play. In essence, all you have to do is tap this, pay 1 of those inks you have that you can't use a turn, just gain a lore. In essence, just speed up how fast you gain lore to how fast your opponent gains lore. So I'm not sure why this has to be printed. If this is not power creep, I don't know what a card looks like for power creep, but nonetheless, a very good card. I think a lot of decks are going to use it if they can. I could see the bounce deck playing this just so you can gain just a little bit more lore a little faster, so you can get a little quicker into winning the game using the bouncing back combo. I could also see a lot of other decks just randomly putting this in. I could almost see this as a side deck card as well if we had side decks again, just so you could side it in against those matches. 100% the deck you're playing is just slightly slower than you, and they maybe play a lot more control cards, because if you're playing something that's steel and the people aren't playing beast in their deck, which I highly doubt that most people are not going to be playing beast with the amount of items that are very, very good out of this set, putting this in your deck so then you can quest game 1 and just outspeed your opponent just a little bit faster. In essence, all it does is just gives you a 1 up on your opponent. Again, multiple of these books, and only needing to pay 1 ink is very good. I would have said it would have been downright broken if it was for free. But still, 1 ink is still a lot for just a 1 lore. Because again, items come in completely dried. So in essence, if all you're missing is 1 lore and your opponent's there sitting okay, I got this, and you've kept this card in your hand the entire time, well, you got, say, 3 or 4 ink. All you need to do is pay the 3 ink to bring this out. It immediately dries, tap it, pay the 1, you win. So in essence, this is going to be very interesting because it's going to put a lot of mind gains in the Amethyst engine. Is someone running the Sorcerer's Spellbook to gain that lore? Because how I could see it is, like I said, it's an end-game card, meaning that all you need is 1 lore. Your opponent believes he's completely safe. He can win next turn. You throw it down and you win. It's a win more card, and I feel like it's not going to be fun to play against it when suddenly your opponent's dropping this book on you and all they needed was, say, 1 lore, and then they win it by the 1 lore that this book produces. Yeah, it's not going to feel great, but you got to give it to your opponent. I mean, now we're going to really have to start thinking, does he have the book? And do I need to quest faster on him so that he can't have at the limit of needing just the 1 lore to win the game? So it's going to be very, very interesting just how this book starts changing the meta and changing the thoughts in players about how fast they should go for questing. So that is Amethyst. Not a lot of cards in Amethyst, and I really think not every card is really good. I think the Pinocchio is very, very strong for Stitch aggro decks. The deck that really comes out of here 100% day one is going to be the Bounce Engine deck of Madam Him and Merlin. And other than that, that's really it. There's only like a few cards in here that I think have some synergy, like Fairy Godmother's is very, very good for like a Ruby deck, just so you can get all of your rushers back to your hand, your Rusher and Reckless guys, so you can get them back to your hand. So you're always threatening them is not bad. Hey is pretty interesting, especially for decks like maybe Amethyst Control or maybe even Stitch Rockstar. Anything like that. So it's going to be interesting just how Amethyst evolves. I think without 100% a doubt, the best Amethyst deck for Floodborn or for post-Floodborn is Merlin Madam Him Bounce. But let me know down in the comments your thoughts on the Amethyst cards out of Floodborn. What were you excited about as we saw them? Are you going to play the Merlin Madam Him Bounce deck? Let me know all of that down in the comments. And let me know your thoughts on Spellbook. Should it not been printed as a card? Do you think it's going to be that win more card? Do you think it's going to put in those game states where people aren't happy about, like, I dropped this and it dries automatically and I just win the game? Let me know that down in the comment as well. And while you're commenting, do make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you get notified when my videos go live for you. And we'll see you here next time on Mama Dragon's TCG.